This discussion today, which is titled The Way We See Water. Water, of course, signifies a lot of things. It's hope, it's magnificence, it's survival. Uh, it's a lot of things. It's not just a resource, for us. And in this conversation, we have tried to bring together photographers from different cultures, backgrounds, and countries to share a little bit of their work and their perspectives on water. And they will talk about their photographic journey and their relationship of their images with water. So today I welcome Anshika Verma from India. Hi,
Hi
Anshika.
guys. Hi
Dipti,
Shuchi.
Dipti Asthana from India as well. Hi.
Hello.
Gareth Phillips, who's sitting in the car, very interesting, from Wales, doing this session. Carolyn Flipper from Germany. Hi, Carolyn. So good to have you with us again. Uh, and, uh, and Manchuria Sharma from USA. I apologize again, Manjari, for waking you up so early. Thank you so much for being with us. Nida Mehboob from Pakistan. Hi, Nida. Thank you. Prasit Thapit from Nepal. Hi, Prasit. Good to have you with
Hello.
us.
Hi, Suchi.
Hi. And we have Ritesh Uttam Chandani again from India. And I don't know if Ritesh has managed to join as yet. He was having some difficulties, but maybe eventually I'm hoping he'll be able to join. So thank you so much, everyone, for agreeing to do this at slightly short notice, but I'm glad that we're all here together. At least this scenario allows us, as we were just discussing, to kind of connect with each other. And as I was just mentioning that water, is it really just a resource for consumption? Is it not something that's political? Doesn't it have gender connotations? Isn't it a cultural symbol? And so on. There's so many connotations to water. And I think that's where we want the conversation to lead. So without much delay, so that I can give each one of you a little more time, why don't we start with Anshika? Anshika, can you share with us a little bit about yourself and about the work that you're going to show?
Sure. Hi everyone on the panel. It's been amazing to actually see the faces of many names that I have read very often and to see some friends who I have seen physically now on a screen. Like Shuchi said, I am a photographer and I kind of do a bunch of experiments within photography, and I think I'll keep it to water today because otherwise it can just kind of spiral off. But it's interesting that one of the projects I actually want to show started from Chennai Photo Biennale for their first edition, and this was right after the floods that happened in Chennai, and we were kind of asked to come and do a work on what water meant to us. And it's a bit odd for me because I was born and I grew up in Delhi, which is completely landlocked to a large degree. So my first experience with water was much later in life, around university, actually, when I was in Bombay. And so it's always been something that I have tried to make sense of. And in some ways, I guess the two works I'll briefly kind of show you today. And it's interesting that you were talking about the gender of water or the politics of water. And I think for me, the first question that came to mind was what is the relationship of us as people who live really close to water, because at the end of the day, so I'm looking at water, but I'm actually maybe just photographing on land and through land in some ways. And so I can just show a little bit of the images and then kind of start with that conversation too. So the water series that I'm going to show you first is actually a work called, sorry, just one second. I'm getting the slideshow. Yeah. And so this is a small village actually in Chennai called Alcott Kuppam. And this was one of the oldest fishing villages that I got to know about in Chennai, and I ended up spending a fair bit of time over a couple of years, with the inhabitants of this village. And I think one of my inquiries was to actually talk to them about their memories and their relationship with water. And they actually refer to the sea over here as the as Kadal Tai, who's, it's Kadal means water, so it's the water goddess that they actually, kind of spoke to. And although I am a photographer, I end up working in kind of interdisciplinary mediums in some way. So the work actually evolved out of a series of photographs and conversations with the inhabitants of this village. I don't know if you guys can read the text. If you can, that's great. Or if you'd
Yeah.
like me to read, then you can just let me
You
know.
can read it out.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is, I mean, I've just added a few, but the idea was to actually kind of put in the quotations of the people who I spoke to. And this is from the gentleman who's on top of the boat with his grandson. And he says, I was 5 when I first met her on a choppy sea, pushed away and then closer, tugging, shoving, angry in love. I swore I would not see her again. My feet find themselves on the crow's nest, feeling the softness of her waves every morning. And so it's also, so there were two dynamics that actually worked when I was there. One was obviously the relationship of water as sea. And the second at the same time was the scarcity of water in the city, of drinkable and usable water. And, over here, what I was trying to do was to look at how, although they are present in a space that has what one might call an infinite supply of it, there is still a scarcity of how much of it can be used and what that does to the dynamics of how we live. So a lot of it is actually just me observing the community as they were living over there, spending time with them, talking to them about their dreams. Uh, this was what the little girl and I was talking about, and she said, they say it's magic to see her move, swirling through the loops of those inside of her. She makes her own paths and we follow. Maybe it will be love when we meet. And one more thing, I mean, in terms of how the economy of the village works, because it's traditional fishermen that actually live there, there's kind of a gender dynamic that also goes into play, where the men end up becoming the fishermen and they actually end up going out into the sea, but the women are that part of the community that take the fish from their fathers or husbands and actually sell it in the market. So with the women, there's always there was always this fascination for the sea as something that's completely unknown, and there's a romanticization, I think, that happened because of that. Um, and at the same time, I think with the men there was more fear, and because a lot of them kind of entered the seas when they were very young, and they've had their own experiences. They felt sick, and it starts off with kind of like this more violent, I'm never going to go there, but at the same time I kind of was born with the sound of the waves, behind me. So I can't I'm that sound of the waves is part of my identity as well. And
Anshika,
so,
1 minute left. Yeah.
okay,
Sorry. Yeah.
so very quickly to kind of go through this, the work ended up being a series of images of the village over there, but at the same time also of their thoughts, their conversations with me. And the last section actually that this kind of came into, which I'll show very quickly, is a series of objects that are kind of collected from their homes, things that were gifted to me, things that are connected to the sea, but are part of their landlocked life as well. And these then were presented as time capsules, so they actually became objects. And I'll just very quickly take you to that section where we have just a minute. Sorry, I'll just take 1 second on this and I will
Sure.
just very quickly show you how these kind of came through. These are actually presented as time capsules. Can you see this screen of the boxes?
No.
Can you
No.
see it now?
Yes.
Yes, but you
Yeah.
need to just move it to a little bit in the center. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, is that better?
yeah, yeah. And why don't you minimize the window behind you, behind this
Oh, okay.
screen?
One
Yeah,
sec. Let me just do that.
yeah, yeah.
Is that helpful? Okay.
Okay,
So these
thanks.
are, yeah, so these are actually objects that were then put into, let me just go from here. Yeah. Into these kind of time capsules almost, because I think I was interested to know what happens when, if we are to seal these boxes and kind of look back at them 40, 50 years down the line, what becomes the markers and the identity of these people, as fishermen, as humans who are connected to a sea that might not be accessible to us in the future. Yeah.
Right.
Am I good on time right now?
Yes, I think we'll have to take a pause there, Anshika. Maybe
Okay.
if we have time later, I can come
Sounds
back.
good. Sounds
Yeah,
good.
thank
I'll
you
do
so
that.
much. That's a beautiful. I mean, of course, I'm aware of this work,
Yeah.
but
You
thank you so
grow
much.
over over the years and months.
Yes,
Yeah.
and I now invite Dipti Asthana, who's also a fantastic photographer from India, to talk about her work and some of the initiatives that she's taken up recently.
Thank you, Shuchi. Hi, everyone. I'm Deepti, an independent photographer and National Geographic explorer. I'm mostly working on gender issues in rural India. So today I'm going to talk about one of the projects which I did back in 2016, and it's interesting enough that it's also about a fishing village in southern India. It's called Dhanushkori, and it's almost at the last tip. So when I started, working there, I have this very distinct memory of the place that, I was deep in the water, almost knee deep in the backwaters of this town, which is surrounded by a Bay of Bengal and Indian Ocean from both sides. And I saw these 50 men and women pulling the rope and singing this beautiful song in Tamil folk song on the top of their voice. Maybe because they need that kind of strength, to pull that rope, to fetch this net, which is almost like 1,000 kilogram, their first catch of the day. So this is the memory which I have deeply ingrained, in my mind, and that's how my association with the water in Dhanushkori started. But if we talk about the how I saw water, it was more about how the water has seen the stories through ages. It's such a layered story. So if someone would probably go to this town for the first time, what they would see is these saints and sadhus walking miles to reach this meeting point of Indian Ocean and Bay of Bengal, because that has a very that has a context in the Hindu mythology and Ramayana, that this is where the Ram Setu is under the water, which is which people call Adam's Bridge. But when you dig deeper, there is just so much more about the layers of history in this town. So what you see on the screen is the archive images which I found on internet about this town, which used to be a very flourishing port at the time of British rule. The town has the town had a railway station, it had hospital, it had the housing colony, it had everything a developing town can have. But this one particular incident in 1964, a cyclone happened and it completely changed the history of this place. It got completely destroyed, the whole train, it got so much in water, almost 1,800 people died in that incident. So these are the archival images of that incident. Disha, if you could please help me navigate through those images quickly. And it was internationally reported at that time. It affected India. It also affected Ceylon, Sri Lanka. Another image, please. yeah, and that's the train track. The train completely got submerged. So that's another story of the water which is which was giver, which had this way to commute for people from one place to another place, and also giving the means to the fishermen. It suddenly become a destructor. It destroyed the whole town. But the interesting thing is that these bunch of fisher folks there who are living there, they refused to leave the town, despite it was declared for unfit for living by the government. And even now, there is just absolutely no facilities. There's no electricity. There's no fresh water. The school is just so far that most of the people drop, especially girls, they drop school by the time they reach the age of puberty. So I'll just go through the photos which I made during that time.
Yes.
And so if you look at the first picture, that's how the landscape look. It's very surreal. It's very beautiful, but at the same time, it's very, because I have seen this women taking public view because
Right.
they just have no option. I've seen
Dipti. Yeah.
sorry,
Yeah.
I,
No worries.
I and then and this is the kind of view you see there, and then they dig these wells by their hand to find fresh irony, like surrounded by the water through both the sides. They still struggle for the fresh water. They dig a well and place once it gets weak itself. Folk and the kind of get in the water, they are age 10 or 12. So there is just no option for them to live their childhood properly. The water has a very, very different meaning for them, and they're digging these small pools to learn swimming, to learn how to catch fish, because in some years they have to go really deep in the water. Next please. And these are the some of the left historical marks which are made, and some of the remainings of the past of this place, which are very close to the water, just giving a symbol of how destructive it has been at some point of time.
Right.
Next please.
Dipti, could we come back? How many more images do you
Oh,
have?
just two more.
Okay,
And
go
this
ahead.
is one of the women who has been a survivor of the cyclone. She has seen the town changing. She has seen everything from her own eyes. Next, please. And these are the children who are trying to learn this, swimming and catching the fish in the with their own hand. So this has been, and that's very
Beautiful.
touristy way of looking at the water, that someone has come from other place and taking a photograph there. So the history there is just so layered and so complex with respect to water, with respect to the history of the town. So that was my work about. Before I jump off, I just want to quickly talk about this initiative which I'm part of. It is called Photo for a Cause. And what we are trying to do, we are trying to help the fisher women who are impacted by the COVID-19 situation. When I was there, they were absolutely going through the very difficult time. There is a lot of problems with the gender pay gaps, and as Anshika also mentioned about how the roles of how the role of fisher women is very defined and confined, what they are supposed to do and what they are not supposed to do, and living in this remote place, it's very difficult for them to commute and stuff. So we are collaborating with Disha and In Season Fish, which both are very reliable organization.
Right.
I'm gonna just post a link, check
Yeah,
the
just share the
gallery.
link in the
Yes,
chat
please
and
have a
everybody
look,
can.
and that's
Yeah.
that's all. Thank
Thank
you
you.
very
Thank you,
much.
Dipti. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you.
Okay, great. Everybody must check out this link and try and contribute. I am going to move on to our next panelist, Gareth. Gareth Phillips from Wales, who has a very interesting setup today, but I look forward to his work. Hi, Gareth.
Do I do a screen share from here, yeah?
Yes, yes,
Okay. Forgive me, this is the first time I'm using it, so.
no worries.
Sorry, a second.
Yes.
So I can't do the. So with this work in particular, this is very, oh, actually, let's just go to. So I mean, I can't do it on full screen for some reason, so we'll just speak about it like this.
Yes.
So I'm based in Wales, between Wales and India, so I spend my time in both countries. I find myself here in Wales in lockdown, and I find myself on the coast. The coast has been a part of my life since I was born here. I've surfed it, I've swam in it, I've paddled in it. So it's a natural retreat for me. It's somewhere which I'm very privileged and lucky to be able to spend time here. And as I found myself stuck in Wales whilst this was all happening, I also found myself compelled to make work. And although I'm naturally I don't like definitions, but you know, what you could call a documentary photographer, I also was not really interested in recording what was happening in a documentary way. There were numerous opportunities to do this, but it's just something that it didn't feel right, didn't feel comfortable.
Right.
So I went on my 1 hour walks, in which we were allocated by our leader in chief, Mr. Johnson. On these walks, I just decided to shoot with no narrative. I wanted to completely strip back what I was doing and just, I guess, use these years of immersion that I've had on the coast and find different ways to record it. So what you're seeing here is just a selection of some of the scenes that I found mostly in dawn and around dawn time. And they're just quiet, for want of a better way of describing it, haikus. For me, I'm trying to distill and condense the way I see a particular subject matter. So how can I represent, you know, the 40,000 deaths that have happened in the UK, and how can I try and show that in a way that goes beyond perhaps just showing the logistics of that? How can I get to the essence of a feeling of that, and within a confined space as well? So how can I do that within a 2-mile radius of coastline? And so this is my reaction to it, and it's just an ongoing body of work which I try to put no thought into. So there's no planning. It's the absolute opposite of everything I usually do within any type of planned project. So, and in stripping back this planning, this agenda, I'm able to find the nuances of beauty which exist along the coast here. And as these were kind of, you know, as I was finding these and as they were presenting themselves to me, I realized early on that this was also a conduit to help others, I guess, find some solace outside of the restriction and lockdown and confinement that they faced themselves. You know, I was allowed to go outside. I had a press pass because of my work for The Guardian. So this allowed me to be able to go out a bit longer than most. So, but I felt guilty. I'm on this beautiful landscape, this beautiful coastline. You know, how can I don't think the video is going to play, but we'll try.
Yeah. It's 1 minute now. Yeah.
And these are just, again, like just situation as well as talking about the situation that's happening. Use the
Sorry,
noise.
we aren't able to hear you, and there's a little
Yeah.
bit of lag in the video. Yeah.
I'll leave those, but it's, I mean, you can find them all on the Instagram account and website. So
Right.
I guess I encourage you actually, most viewers to go.
And actually, just for our audience to know, that was one of the reasons how we constructed this whole event, because I saw Garrett's beautiful pictures. Then I saw Naveen's beautiful pictures. Sorry, Naveen, I forgot to introduce you in the beginning. And Naveen is a photographer from Chennai in India. And then I kind of suddenly, I started looking at a lot of these visuals and perspectives on water from photographers all over. And I said, we must do this, just to have a very short but interesting conversation. So thank you so much, Gareth. And it was lovely to see your perspectives on work. Let's hope we have some time later. I'm sure the audience might have some questions. I would request the audience that in case if you have specific questions for specific speakers, please put them in the question and answer box with their names. Thank you. I am going to move forward to our next panelist, Carolyn Flipper from Germany. Hi, Carolyn.
Hi there. Thanks
Hi.
for the invitation.
No, of course.
Okay, I will share my screen.
Yes. Carolyn was also one of our exhibiting artists in the very first edition of Chennai Photo Biennale. It was lovely to have her work with us.
So can you see my screen now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. I would like to introduce you to two of my personal projects. Well, I'm very interested in matrilineal and matriarchal societies. And I did two projects in India and China with small minority groups. In India, I spent 10 months in Meghalaya with the Khasi people.
Mm-hmm.
And I lived there in a small village. And yeah, with only, I think, 500 inhabitants. And the village was centered near a very beautiful lake. And this lake is very, very important for the people of Marlinong, because every afternoon they would meet at this lake and chat and spend time, and the children, they would play and swim, and the mothers would wash the laundry, and the fathers would fish and try to catch some fish. And yeah, I really love to spend my afternoons there as well. Let me show you the images. During my time there, I did a portrait project on the girls of this minority group, because the social system of the Khasi is that the girls will inherit the property and the name of the family, and she will give it to her children. So the girls are very important for the Khasi, and they're even preferred to sons. This is very unique. Well, yes. And yeah, my second project is on the Muso people. I spent 3 months in China, in Yunnan. The Muso people, they count about 40,000 members, and they practice matriarchal society. They practice the walking marriage. That means that the children will stay living in the house of their mothers for life, and the husbands will just spend the night at their wife's bedroom. Well, and that means that the financial situation for the Muso, they are very secure, and yeah, it's very contrary to our system. Right. And the Muso people, they live around a very beautiful lake called the Luhu Lake, which means mother lake in the language of the Muso. And they mostly live from fishing, and nowadays from tourism. Right. Yes, and I did a portrait project on the old matriarchs.
Could we see that? Is it possible for you to show
that? Again, please.
Is it possible for you to show those portraits that you're talking about?
Yes. Don't you see my screen?
I see, but it's just the grid from your first work that you were talking about.
Oh, yes. Yes, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Just 1 second. Can
yes.
you see?
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Oh, then I think I was showing the wrong screen. Let me show you all the images again.
Right.
Sorry, I didn't realize.
Yeah.
So that's the images of Makazi.
Right.
You see the river?
Wow.
Yes, it's really beautiful there.
You've also captured it very beautifully.
Yes, and now you should see the Musu matriarchs. And in the background of this portrait, you can see the lake, the Dugu Lake.
Right.
They still ride on these wooden boats.
Uh-huh.
And there are no motor boats allowed on this lake.
Right.
Very clean water.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Wow.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Carolyn, for sharing your work. If anybody has any specific questions, please keep sharing them with us in the Q&A box. We will put the questions more towards the end of the conversation. But now I'm going to move to our next panelist, which is Manchuria Sharma, who is based in USA. Hi, Manchuria. I know I have been following your work from my early days in photography, and I'm very happy to have you here. So would love to see some of your work.
Oh, that's fantastic. I've been following everything Chennai Photo Biennale has been doing, and
Thank you.
It's been such a fantastic breath of fresh air to see the incredible work that I've seen through it. So thank you for everything that you all do.
Thank you.
I know it's like a short, quick 5 minutes, so
Yes.
I will share. I'll share my screen right away.
Yes.
And I have just a small presentation, a handful of photographs here. I'll go into full screen mode.
Yes.
Just to start with the image that you shared initially. So personally, for me, I'm really interested in human psychology. I'm always looking for people who have layers and depth, and I feel like, to me, the water becomes sort of a metaphor for what I'm interested in as a person, even without the camera. And aesthetically, I'm always really interested in, no surprise there, I'm really interested in light, texture, and shape. Shape is really central to a lot of my work, but water is such a shapeshifter. So in a way, what I find really beautiful is that it's constant. There's reflections, there's refractions, there's lights bouncing off of all of these droplets, and it just creates this microsphere, and it allows you to just really get lost. And I think if I find myself staring and not being able to flinch, then as a visualizer, I've been had. I'm compromised. So I find that now for over a decade that I just keep coming back to working with water over and over. It's not something that's premeditated. It's not something that I've planned and gone for, but it's just found itself over and over. And then, it's like I think it's like just an ongoing romance. But also it just becomes, I think, for me, it's really important. I personally really think there's a deep connection between vulnerability and creativity. And when I say creativity, I don't necessarily just mean the the creative work you're making, but like the creativity that ensues from letting yourself go through a transparency. And by that I mean, so water washes over you. It's powerful. It has it can clean you, so to speak. When I was just thinking to myself, my daughter, she plays this game and it's rock, paper, scissors, and
Yes.
go, and I was just thinking to myself, if there was a water in there, it would trump it all. But at the same time, water doesn't, even though it's powerful, it finds a way to go around the rock. And it doesn't have to, it's powerful, but it doesn't have to be insistent. And what I found was, in this particular project, I invited people to take a shower in my bathroom, and it led to just these really incredible disarming conversations. And I have only 2 pieces from the work here, but you can see more on. Going to move on to how my relationship with water has continued. This is a newer body of work that I don't have on the website, so I thought it would be a good
Yes.
journey share. It's part of a residency, and instead of photographing people in a small space, I decided to immerse them into the water. In every case, like I've kind of documented these conversations, and the words that have followed the experience of the water has been always enlightening to me. So I feel like I learned something. It's like a sermon that I'm waiting for, that I feel uh, the following of this ritual of showering, or this ritual of going into the pool. The fact that water connects us is so intimate. So for a long time, it's been figures in the water. And in this case, it's a mother and daughter almost fusing and turning into one creature.
Yes.
And again, a really strong family, and the words that came out about their experience with race and their identity in America was really beautiful. And I have more on that on Instagram. But
Wow.
it has gone from that to studying disassembled body forms in water. So what I'm loving really now is not just the structure, but the broken structure, and water can do that. It can hug you, but it can also disassemble you, and I find that really beautiful. I want to end with a video. So as I was doing this residency, I started to make these small vignettes of just moments of people floating in the water. And I'm just gonna, I don't even know if we have the time to watch this full few
Not the
seconds.
full thing, but yeah, it's just nice
So
to.
I'll just say that like my latest foray has been using the water not just to capture in, but also as a canvas. So in this image, I'm actually projecting the video I shot in that very pool, projected back into the pool. And
Wow.
that has been a really exciting journey to just to not just make it a place where I create, but make it a canvas. So
That's
I'm gonna end with that.
that's amazing. I mean, these are some very interesting ideas as well, and it's amazing to see your perspectives on how you're looking at water and using your work to convey the same. Thank you,
Thank you.
Manjari. And we move on to our next panelist, who's Naveen Gautham. Naveen is from Chennai, and I'm equally in love with his work on the sea. We have the Marina Beach in Chennai, and Naveen has made some beautiful work over there. Naveen, why don't you share maybe a line about yourself and then take us through your work?
Yeah, thank you, Sushi. I'm Naveen Gautham from Chennai, India. I'm a self-taught photographer and documenting my life since from past 8 years. Um, I like to share the way she connects with me and my life.
Right.
Once when I was depressed so much in my life, I used to go to Marina Beach every day. You know, all the Marina Beach in Chennai. That time I isolated myself from the world and I don't want to talk with anyone. I left the camera in the home and I stopped photography for some years. I spent all my time, most of the time in the beach. I slept there, I stayed there, uh, and some point of time, I uh, I started to talk with we are discussing about my pain and uh, my mind and everything. Just like watching the waves, it feel like it's talking to me. It consoles me and it protects me. And mm, I stopped almost photography for a year, and one point of time I started to I realizing I should capture my surroundings and uh, I should take photographs, and I started taking photographs in mobile phone. after a long time. That's made me feel good that time. I will share my screen.
Yes, let's look at some of your work. Are you able to do share screen? It's at the bottom of this window. There's a share screen button. Yeah.
Just a minute.
Do you see, like, on the bottom there is this menu?
Yeah.
There is share screen in the center. Just press that. Yeah. Are you able to do it, Naveen? I think we have some issues. Are you able to do it? Not able to do it?
Sorry. Just a minute.
Okay. Yeah.
My screen is visible.
Yes, but you might have to bring your work, the screen where your work is. Yeah. Yes. Thank you. Yeah.
The Marina Beach will be loaded with kids. Most of the time, you can see kids playing everywhere, and whether it's morning or evening, they are playing with somebody. Sorry. I saw one day. I saw a couple of boys playing, dancing in the waves. They were dancing with the waves, holding each other's hands, and they forget what they are and who they are. That they just enjoying the moments.
Right.
They spread the happiness and joy to everyone's over there. Like to know the question.
Right.
You are seeing a father and his daughter and
daughter.
The girl was afraid to go to the waves, near to the waves, but his father went, and suddenly there was a big wave. The girl was shouting and screaming about come fast, and he's trying to move towards him, and father was running back to her.
Right.
While seeing the moment, I felt the same tension and fear.
Right.
Once they met together, they hugged each other. They were laughing or laughing like anything.
Yeah.
And those days, I used to start walking to one end of the beach to another end, and return back to the same starting point. It was early morning, 5 a.m. I was started to walking to the seashore. I saw a man he's sitting and crying in the seashore. I don't know what's going on, and I just crossed over him, and after some time coming back to the way, he still started. He's still sitting and crying.
Right.
I don't know what to do, but I don't want to leave him like that.
Right.
So I just went to ask him what happened. Are you all right? He turned up and silently watched my eyes. He didn't talk anything, and he bowed his head and started crying. Really, I don't know again what to do, so I just silently stand beside him for hours. After some time, he left the place.
Naveen, we might have to make it a little faster. And maybe if we have time in the end, we'll come back to the images. So why
This
just
this
show
is
us?
the
Yes,
this is the last image.
this is the last image.
This one of the most close to heart and most effective picture for me. Another day I saw this man carrying heavy luggages in his hand and shoulders. Uh, it was surprised, and it's not normal. I just went to and asked him. He started talking in Hindi. I don't know Hindi, but with my broken Hindi, I realized to understand what he is telling. He is somewhere from North India.
Okay.
He came for the Chennai for the job.
For a job
Unfortunately,
opportunity.
Unfortunately, he lost all the contacts and contact person and addresses, and he don't know anyone in Chennai, and he don't have to go. Someone said there is a beach in Chennai, so he came to the beach with all his heavy luggages. Then he told, I want to search another job and place to stay, and he is looking at waves with his blank eyes and his future. That time I felt all his burden and weight on me.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Naveen. Beautiful work. And I hope we are able to come back, and I hope the audience also enjoyed looking at your work. I will now invite Nida Mehboob from Pakistan to come and share a little bit about herself and some beautiful stories about her work.
Hi, I'm Nida. I'm from Lahore, Pakistan. I'm a photographer and I make short films also. My topic of interest are religious minorities in Pakistan and gender discrimination. But today I'm going to show you my favorite spot in the city, which is an empty space near River Ravi we have here. It is very unique because you don't get to see an empty area near a riverside because of construction, population, pollution. So let me show you how it looks like.
Just for everybody in our audience to know that we are sharing each panelist's a small bio in the chat section. You can check it out alongside the talks. Yes, Nida.
So I go there whenever I feel stressed, lonely, sad, whenever I'm overthinking. This is the place I go to. I sit there, spend some time, take pictures. And whenever I'm traveling, I find myself going to places near a river. For example, this image is not from Pakistan, but I keep taking pictures near water whenever I'm traveling. And these are some video clips from a film that I'm working on.
Is there sound for the video that you're showing?
No.
Okay. The sheer joy of jumping into the water of a buffalo.
So yeah, personally for me, water represents joy, life, a place where I can go and calm myself. But now in my work, I use water differently. Metaphorically, it represents something else for me. For example, the boat represents life and the journey we take as life. And aesthetically, water it's pleasing to eyes. And socially, the way I'm seeing water and river in my film is about how public places are dominated by men, not even in land, but even in water. It's men who fish, it's men who boat,
Yes.
who are swimming, public bathing, it's something that's common in men. and it's men who are riding that boat of life across the river. So in my work, I'm using it in a more metaphorically way. But for personally, it's a place where I can just go and relax and just enjoy my time.
Thank you. Thank you. That was really nice. And at least we get to see a little bit about Lahore in this way. So thank you so much for sharing and for really keeping your time slot perfect. Thank you. Thank you so much. And I will welcome now Prasid Stapit from Nepal. Hi, Prasid.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm Prasid Stapit. I'm a photographer from Kathmandu. Let me just turn, sorry. Like Anshika said, she was born in a landlocked place. I was also born in a landlocked country.
Right.
But in Nepal, water plays such an important social, political role that, though Nepal is a landlocked country, it is apparently the second richest country in water resource. Because we have the Himalayas all across the country from the east to the west. So there's a lot of rivers, and rivers, like I said, plays a very, very important political role as well. It defines borders, mostly borders with India. So my work, change of course, the work that I will show just a second. Can you see?
Yes.
So change of course is a project on the small village called Susta in the border between Nepal and India. And the border is defined by this big river called Narayani, and it's called Gandak in India. So in around 40 years ago, the river, because of a big flood, the river changed its course. So Susta, which used to be in the west of the river, shifted to the east of the river. But India maintains that the current course of the river is the border, and Nepal maintains that the previous course of the river is the border. So that has put Susta in sort of this sort of a no man's land, this elusive place where both country claims it, but neither one really wants to do anything. So it's there's no development, there's no electricity till now, there's no road. To cross over to Susta, you have to cross this big river, and there's this sense of isolation that I feel in the citizens of Susta. I've been following this story since 2012, and the first time I went there, I landed in Susta. I took a boat for an hour, and then I landed in Susta. And it took me around 15 minutes or 10 to 15 minutes to reach the village. And the last time I went there in 2018, the village was right there. It was not just the political issue, the border issue that was plaguing that land. It was the erosion that was the most that was plaguing Susta. Every year hundreds and hundreds of hectares of farmlands gets eroded. But thankfully, in 2016, the government in Nepal built like dams all along the coast of Susta, and the erosion has stopped. But still, there is no road, there is no electricity, and nothing. So if we look at it in a very technical, in a data form, Susta used to have 40,980 hectares, and now, after the whole erosion, after the change of course, after everything, 14,000 hectares is in India, 19,980 hectares is disputed land where neither India nor Nepal can really work, and 7,000 is in Nepal. But there is no record of how much of land has been eroded. So it might just, like the villagers was telling me, that it might just be like half of the land has probably been eroded, but no one really knows how much land has been eroded. So I'll just show you a few pictures from Susta.
Beautiful.
though it's a very, very political, this is the disputed land, though it's a very politically disputed area, the people there are so warm. They live in this isolation. They have to cross the river to go into to trade to Nepal. They can't trade in India because they are technically in Nepal. They can go to India to buy a few stuff, but not much. During the monsoon, the river is 2 kilometers long, and they have to cross the boat. They have to cross the river using a boat, and that takes around 2 to 3 hours.
And it must
And
be
mostly in the
risky
middle,
as well. Yeah.
very, very risky. Like I haven't been on that boat during like, peak monsoon, but I've seen a boat almost collapsing. And there were a couple of my friends there, the people who live in Susta. And I was really, really scared, but they thankfully they just crossed the river. And in some places, villagers have to drag the boats because there's not much enough water. So this is in the middle of a 2 kilometer wide river. There is no bridge. They were supposed to, they started building a bridge in 2015 and they're supposed to complete in 2018, but till now, nothing has been built. So there's a lot of corruption because there's a dispute going on.
Yeah, I guess also, I mean, either there is, the water resource as a resource has become political, as you just mentioned, because one is because of its scarcity, another is because of climate change and environmental changes, with a lot of cyclones happening and a lot of erosion happening. Clearly, it has become a political issue more than ever before. So, Prasit, I'm sorry, but I will have to move on to Ritesh because we also want to give some time to share the audience images what have come in as well. Maybe if we have the time, we'll get back. Thank you so much for sharing this very important work. And I hope Ritesh is here.
I am.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you. Hi, Ritesh.
Hi.
And we look forward to seeing your work and maybe just share a little bit about yourself as well.
Well, my slide, unfortunately, my laptop camera gave away today. So I'm on somebody else's laptop, which is not photo friendly, but Nisha has my slideshow.
Yes.
It's a very short slideshow.
Yeah.
I'm a photographer based in Bombay, photojournalist, newspaper photographer. You can even call me a generalist, which is fine by me. Because of my newspaper background and purely for the reason of this conversation, I have never really had a chance to look back at what water means to me per se, or how I perceive it. I simply go for an assignment, finish it, and come back. That's how it's been. But I started thinking of some things, and I'll just share. This is one of the earliest images I took for the newspaper that I was working, the Indian Express, and I have a reasonably humorous side when I'm taking photographs. And I thought this is a slightly different, ironic way to depict waterlogging and consistent floods in Bombay. We could go to the next image. And again, because of my training as a single image photographer, I would look for like this is a pipeline burst. This is going to lead to water scarcity for days. But because I'm a newspaper guy, I need to sugarcoat this information with in a slightly more beautiful way for people to consume. Next. And again, this is on the morning of the big flood that happened in 2005. And I thought this kind of speaks for the kind of hammering we went through for the 3 days that Bombay was underwater. Bombay was underwater due to the most obvious reasons, climate change, erosion of the sea, rampant construction. And we have a drainage system which goes back to, 200 years, and it's never been upgraded. The next. And I've never really I'm myself here in waist deep water, and this is a woman going for her prayers. And it's just I've worked in conditions where I've never really thought what kind of water I am in. Next. But I kept thinking that through somebody said, Nida said here about public spaces, water and women, and this was one of those rare occasions where I saw this is the iconic Marine Drive. Then and I saw a woman sleeping there, and it was I haven't seen a repeat of this ever. Um, so I mean, all this while, I kept thinking, I've only been taking pictures of people from a reasonably lower income background in public spaces, bearing the brunt of water or enjoying it or something of that sort. And that led me to think of a spread which I will show you, which is in my book. The next image. So I'm trying to take the build up to that. This is while I was covering drought in rural Maharashtra. And different kinds of people were like uh, so this image also made me think of like I don't know if any of us would kind of step into this kind of muddy water, to cool off during the summer and all. You can see the next one. So that's a cancer patient in Bombay, and in Bombay the situation is so bad for cancer patients that they literally have to live off the street, and the street floods every year. And you have no place to go, you can't get a bed inside, you can't do anything. um, uh, for the book that I did, which talks about the city, I wanted a transition, a comparative image for it, and it took me years to find it. But I wanted to see what happens when a person from an influential background goes into water like this, which is in the next slide. And that's somebody who's actually paying to be part of an adventure competition, which is called the Mud Rush, and they do this military boot camp like thing. And I mean, I must have photographed like 40-50 such wonderful people who were going through this slush, but I couldn't believe this woman, because before she went into this, or before she would go for every 2-3 obstacles, she would replenish her lipstick, and that was very fascinating. This is what the spread looks like in the book. So
just for our audience, sorry, Ritesh, just to mention that Ritesh has produced a beautiful book called The Red Cat and Other Stories, which I think you can buy from his website. I hope you have some copies available, Ritesh.
Yes, I do. I'm a Sindhi.
Yes, good. Stick to that. And the good thing, that Ritesh had done, this is a self-published book, and he literally went himself to deliver a lot of the books that people purchased, at least in his own city. And as far as possible, when he was traveling, he decided to deliver it to other friends as well. So that's a great initiative. Do check out his book on his website. And Ritesh, maybe you can just put your website in the chat box so that people can check
I'll
it
do
out.
that.
Yeah. Great. Thank you so much. And I know it's been a little bit of a rush, and we would have loved for this conversation to go on. But I would like to now share what a lot of our participants in terms of our audience have shared images with us. And we would like to show some of these images. And maybe some of our panelists can share some comments on them. Yes. So as we put this call out, for images, we received some quite interesting images from, I think, people from all across. And yes, this is one of the, I think, first images that we had received. Nisha, just one sec. I would like to, maybe can we bring on the person who that image belongs to? And if you can just announce the name.
Yeah, Shuchi, 1 second.
Yeah.
Deepro Biswas, I've promoted you to as a panelist. Can you
turn on your,
Can you turn on your video and your microphone? Deepro, hi.
Hello, am I audible?
Hi. Yes, you're audible. Yes.
Hi, my name is Deepro Biswas. I am from Calcutta.
Hi, Deepro.
So this work is one of the pictures from my ongoing project on how Holi has how Holi affects the rivers, the water. I've currently started this work from a very short time, from this year only. So for me, the red color of this river symbolizes the danger we have created for the Ganges, because after playing Holi, different peoples, they bathe in the river Ganges, and the natural color of the river changes. For me, that's very somewhat painful that I've seen such a calm river, natural colors of it, and how that changes
And we
over
are
a few
polluting it as
minutes.
well. And we are polluting the water as well.
Yes, yes,
Yes, yes,
because that's very harmful for the people there also, because some people are bathing on with this toxic water.
right.
So that was my mindset while clicking this picture.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing it with us.
Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you. Okay, let's move to the next one.
Next one is Ankita Ramesh.
Can we have the image?
Yeah, Ankita, if you're there, can you raise your hand? I don't see her in the attendee list.
Can we anyway see her image? And then maybe we can move on to the next.
Yeah, okay, I'm moving on to the next person. Soham Banerjee.
Yeah.
Hi Soham, can you turn on your video and your microphone? Can you talk, please?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes. Hi, Soham.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hi, ma'am.
Thank you for sharing your work with us. Could you say a little bit about this image?
Yeah, sure. Ma'am, this photo was taken during Strabon Mela. I live in Kolkata and it's very near to Ganga. And it's like my place where I find peace, and I see all these people. They come every day to say their prayers, or some people they come to share their sorrows with the river. And it's like all these people, they were playing there in the darkness. It was like evening time, and
Right.
I used flash to highlight the water because I wanted to show this, like, this joy and this moment that I was sharing with everyone. And the
Right.
best part about this picture is that these people were not afraid of me or anything, but they were actually smiling and laughing while I was clicking their pictures, and it made me very happy to see
Yes.
that I could make someone else smile with my photos. And this technique, I saw a photographer I follow, Joyanto Roy. He works in Kolkata and black and white photos mainly, and
Mhm.
he used flash to highlight this water, so I wanted to try that.
Right.
And that's how this picture came along, and I really love this moment and how I vibe with the people there. uh, and this Ganga, this river, it's like something really close to me. It makes me feel at peace and share my time with
Right.
all these people there.
Very similar to what Naveen also shared, that how the sea
Yeah,
is
I
kind
was
of
really
brings you a little
liking his
peace,
work. That's why
and
the
even with
stories
what
of the
Nida had
people.
shared. Yes, yes. Thank you, Soham, for sharing this beautiful work. We
Okay,
also
ma'am.
really enjoyed having it with us. Thank you.
Ritankar Mazumdar.
Can we see the image?
Yeah, Ritankar, you can speak now. I'm sharing his work.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hi, Ritankar.
Hi.
Hello.
Yes.
This picture is mainly taken in Kolkata during the heavy rain season. In
Okay.
in the last monsoon, actually in the every monsoon, Kolkata street became look like a small river in the monsoon, and it's became a waterlogged streets everywhere. It's a very tough from the local peoples to survive in that situation. This is a little kid who is living on the street. like the all other cities, we have the street kids, and in this heavy rain season in the waterlogged street, he's facing several problems. And this is a from my series where I want to portray this kind of people's lifestyle in this during the heavy rain season in the heavy waterlogged streets. This is just significance of that factor or that problem.
Right. Thank you. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
sharing that. A little bit reminds me of what Ritesh also just shared with us as a visual with water and faces emerging. Although the context, of course, is very different. So thank you. Nisha, can we bring on the next entry?
Yeah, the next up is Virginia Woods.
Okay. Is Virginia here with us?
Yeah, she's there.
Okay.
Virginia, can you speak?
Is Virginia connected to us?
Yeah, Virginia, are you there?
Is on mute.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, maybe.
Okay, I'm pulling up the next one.
Yes. Yes.
We'll move forward. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just Sanid Rai Chaudhary.
Yeah.
Sanid?
I think, I don't know if it's difficult for people to connect or.
Okay, one. I'm just checking. No, I don't think.
Okay.
Yeah,
Let's
he's
move.
offline now. Okay, next one is Saurav Biswas.
Okay. Looks like we have a lot of entries.
No, yeah, even Saurav is
yeah.
offline.
Yeah.
It's really evident that water provides this meeting point.
Yes.
For everyone to make work. It's interesting when I think of the tide right now. I think of
Yeah.
the tide in the UK. It's a really big tide, and all of a sudden, it comes in with. It allows me to work, and then I look at other points in which other people are working. You know, the point in which the water comes to the mouth, or the drought that exists in Nepal. Like
Right.
it's amazing to see these meeting points, and I think that's a really interesting aspect of water itself, and how we as artists, photographers, whatever, you know, find ourselves at these meeting points, you know, underwater, on top of water, in rain. Ritesh, what is it, I think it was the image with a purple background, and it was all the rain that was falling down.
Yeah.
And his painting is beautiful, and I love how, even from a complete news point of view,
yes,
you can create a semi-abstract conceptual image, you know, because of water, the element of water itself. I find this really interesting, how through all kind of mediums we're all working with in areas, that you can have this, I don't want to call it a corruption, but a mutation perhaps of vision. And I think that's super exciting within what everybody's doing here.
Yes, I completely agree. And also water as, you know, a border, as Prasit was talking about, and how that could be a meeting point as well as a divider between two different lands, two different cultures, and its people, you know. So yes, of course. Nisha, do we have the next entry?
Yeah, we have few more.
Okay.
Next one is Caldwell Manners.
Yeah.
Can you speak up, Caldwell? I can see you.
Yes.
Hi.
Hi.
Okay.
Hi.
I'm Caldwell. I'm from Shillong. The image that I shared is one of a river in Colombia. It's called the Magdalena River.
Yeah.
And it was the river that the Spanish used to colonize Colombia. And it is a river that is highly militarized today because of the natural resources around it. And this is a Navy boat on the river. And the reason why I chose this to share this image is because of the kind of the ominous color of the water at sunset. This river has been considered the grave site in Colombia because of the war that's gone on and the number of people that have been thrown into the river over the years. And the water still is a place that is highly militarized and politicized in the politics of the country. So, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing your work.
Beautiful image, Caldwell, and see you in 4 days. we keep meeting in Shillong every now and then.
That's wonderful.
I can see Virginia Woods online. Virginia, can you speak? I'll share your work. Virginia?
Nisha, can we probably mute the others? Maybe let's move to the next image. I'm not sure if...
It's nice to hear so many people together in a room. You know, that's just what I was thinking. I was like, wow, there's so many people together.
Hello, guys.
Sure.
Aman Singh.
Okay. Nisha, how many more do we have? Maybe we can share 2 more and then you know, open it up for maybe some questions. You know, I don't.
We have 2 more, Shuchi.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay.
So, okay. Aman, are you there?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm trying to unmute him, but
okay.
But
yeah. Can we at least see his work?
Yeah.
Meanwhile.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is Aman's work.
Not able to see anything.
Yeah, I'm sharing it.
Okay. Yeah.
This is Aman's work. And the next one is Indraneel Chowdhury.
Okay.
I'll see if he's online.
Sure. But maybe share his image while you're trying to connect with him.
I can't. Sorry,
Okay.
Shuchi, I can't do both. So I just have to allow him to talk.
Sorry.
Yeah. No.
Yeah. Okay.
Indraneel, can you speak?
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, Indraneel.
Hi.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing my work. This image is from a story I'm doing on an island that's in the Sundarban Delta.
Okay.
So when I first landed to this place, it's 4 o'clock in the evening. The only boat was running. So this young boy came up to me. He's like, in curiosity, there are cameras in my hand. So it was like, what you are doing and everything. So he started giving me the tour of the island that's already lost his 51% of landmass, like low tide, high tide, houses are breaking. So this was kind of devastation at every point I was visiting. Moreover, the village the whole island was divided into Hindu majority and then Muslim majority. So in this whole thing, it took me to this place, this is where it ends, and he was playing, and randomly he shouted from that place, this is what God gave us. This is what God gave us. So at this point, I realized at a point how much it's important for us to like living in an urban place that water is important, and we don't
And how long
think
have you
of.
been photographing this particular body of work?
I have been there twice. I'm like trying to make it as a long-term project.
Okay.
Like, so being independent, it's a bit tough to like move, process your work and go ahead with it. So this is a part of my body of work. So this is kind of my favorite image out of the all. 7-year-old full tone, and he was wearing a, what I remember, he was in the evening, he was wearing a Sachin Tendulkar t-shirt, and he said he loves to play football. So small stories, but yeah, this was Goramara Islands for me, vanishing every day, slowly, gradually. And moreover, I found letter that they have sent in 1991 to the government of India regarding the problem, and they have replied back in 2017 to the oldest man in the village, Gopal Kanak, saying that that it's the state government problem. Then it's just like a bouncing between state and the central government, like who will be gonna saving this. And still it doesn't have any electricity. They don't have any electricity. They don't have any electric towers in the like whole area. So yeah, that's.
Thank you. Thank you for giving us that backdrop as well. I think it sets a context for this otherwise beautiful image. You know?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
We have one more, Suvajit Mukherjee.
Okay.
I'm trying to see if he's online.
Wow, I think 90% of our images have come from the eastern side of India.
Suvajit, go ahead. Suvajit?
Maybe he's not.
Yeah, I think he's.
It's very feeble voice, I guess.
Can you hear? I'm not able to hear anything.
I can hear some hello, but very feeble. Or maybe I'm just making up.
Happens in the lockdown. We hear voices. To a lot of us.
Yeah. And I'm roaming around in cemeteries nowadays in Shillong. So yeah, quite possible.
Okay, I'll quickly share his work.
Yeah, just share the image and then maybe we'll open it up for some questions. And
so this is Suvajit's work, Suvajit Mukherjee.
Right.
No.
Interesting.
Upside down.
Yeah. Interesting. Thanks, Nisha. I think this has been a great way to bring so many people together and their work as well. How they particularly feel about it. Like we've discussed, there have been personal moments, there have been political issues, there have been daily life struggles as well, and vulnerabilities that we have talked about. And it's been great to have all of you and your work. So I'm just going to go over the questions. We have a question from Nishal Lama, and it is for Prasid. Prasid, beautiful imagery and a very different way to look at implications of water conflicts. The images that we saw on the slides were kind of desaturated in color and less contrasty. It looked like the photographer had used flash or external light source to light up some of the subjects. If so, is there a particular reason?
Yeah, I didn't have so much resource to really have extra light source or flash or anything like that. But desaturated and yeah, it just, I think I've been working there for so long, through from 2012 to 2018, the 6-7 years, 2019, the 6-7 years that I've been working there. I started noticing a lot of things there. Like in the beginning, the work was completely different. The first time I went there, it was very, street photography, the contrasty and bright colors and everything. But as I slowly developed the work, I started noticing that it was more about isolation. Everyone was talking about isolation. There's no India there, there's no Nepal there, there's just an island. So that's why I really blew up the brightness of the place, so that the horizon was, main aim was to omit the horizon, so that it feels sort of, there's a lot of post-production there. And I shoot in I overexposed my shots, but still, even in post-production, I try to really, the main aim was to really highlight this sense of isolation. Yeah.
And there's a conscious effort to, as you said, to kind of not have the horizon or the line that separates out, let's say, two lands, or
Yeah, I mean, what they said also is like, if India really wants us in their land, they can make an effort, and we would happily go there. Or if Nepal wants that, they should make an effort, and we'd happily go there. There's a lot of politics going on there, but deep down is just a matter of daily life and politics, which are completely different things.
Right. Right. Thanks, Prasid. I'm going to take a question that is actually in the chats from Sumik Kundu. It's for Carolyn Flipper. Carolyn, he asks that your work is very good and lyrical, and he wants to know that why don't you choose to photograph your own country, and why don't you choose to sort of work in your own country? The work that you showed us was from Meghalaya and all.
Well, I did the works after I finished my studies, and I was just so fascinated about cultures where the gender norms are different than in my own country. So I just wanted to really meet those cultures and the people who live there.
Right.
So in my mind, I thought it's really important to tell about other societies where men and women live different, where the gender system is different from the patriarchy we all live in.
Right. And do you, I don't know, I know that a lot of you who work on long-term projects, do you kind of get a chance to stay connected with some of these people who you have photographed over time? I don't know. I mean, sometimes, the project kind of comes to an end and then that's it. And then we don't know really what happens to their lives and how they move ahead in life. So has there been a chance or an effort to kind of stay connected?
Yes, with the Khasi people, I'm still connected, but with the Muso, it's very difficult because their culture is really, really different from mine, and we had a huge language problem. I mean, I had to use a fixer all the time. Yeah, with the Muso, I'm not connected now. But there's one girl which I meet, she's from Italy and she's still living at the Lugo Lake. Stefania is her name. And she really studied the Muso very well, and with her I'm still connected.
That's nice. That's nice. There's one more question for you, Carolyn. Yeah. Given your process of shooting the projects with an immersive passion, do you sometimes find yourself feeling differently about your images made from your experience of living through it all?
I think I didn't really get the question.
Yeah. So basically what they're trying to ask is that, do you sometimes find yourself feeling differently about the work that you're making? What is your personal experience when you're making the work? You're trying to show something, but what about your own personal experience? Does that come into play or not?
Yeah, a little bit. Well, I usually didn't plan so much ahead, so I try to travel to this place and don't have such a fixed idea in my head, and I just search for the most impressive thing, like what really strikes me the most about this culture I'm not a part of. And then after a few days, I try to make a concept. Okay, what is here the most interesting thing? And then I start the project.
Right. Thank you. Thank you.
I have a question for Carolyn.
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, Carolyn, you talk about the matriarchal society in Meghalaya, uh, and patriarchy in general. But what my understanding has been of the region, that I feel this whole matriarchal thing is quite a sham, because the women, they don't actually have any power. I
Yeah.
understand the economy and the land rights, but when it comes to actual power of making any judgment, or even being a village head, and in some of the areas women are even not allowed to vote, they are still struggling for that. So I feel this whole matriarchal thing is quite a sham, just to show. Did you encounter any of such things, or did your project kind of include that aspect of how actual the situation is?
Well, you're right. It's just a matrilineal culture, the Kazi, and I also recognize it in the villages. Well, I figured that the women, they have a strong role in the families.
In individual decision making, yes, but when it comes to power play and taking these leadership roles of chieftains, village head, they are struggling even now.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
So I think we are just about done in time, and maybe some closing comments from all our panelists. How did you guys feel about each other's works, and would you like to say anything before we end the session? Anshika, I'll go one by one.
Seems I always have to be the first one.
Well, alphabetical, yes.
But actually, it was really nice because I think although we're all approaching water from different ways, I mean, like a lot of us have kind of tried to look at it and question water. It's such a strong part of how one even creates an identity. Like, I mean, I don't know if you guys have this, but there's always this question: are you a water person or a mountain person? Like a dog person or a cat person?
Yes.
And so water in so many ways is I mean, it's so close to us, from at subconscious levels, at conscious levels, as therapy, as as identity within politics, within gender. Like, I mean, I think for me it was really interesting to look at water from land and land from water. So it's actually been really interesting to see how we're all kind of on this quest for understanding ourselves and our communities from this space that we know nothing about. Like Gareth, you were talking about what's underneath it and what's over it, and how it's inspired poetry and storytelling and history making. I mean, at the end of the day, we got on ships and conquered land in some ways. They're reclaiming land from water now, and so it's quite interesting to see the diversity of questions that can come from a source that we still know nothing about. It'll always remain something to wonder. Like, there's an entire history of what lays underwater. We have no idea about language that exists over there. I mean,
right.
I keep thinking about what it would be like to know the history of our land if we could decode dolphin speak. Like, there's so much that exists within that.
Sure.
And so it's been really interesting to kind of see how everyone's looking at themselves through an entity that we know nothing about.
Sure. Thank you. Dipti, any closing comments?
I think it has been wonderful. As I said, it's more of a conversation starter,
Yes.
and kind of see the different aspects of what people are working on, how they see water. And I'm very excited about this whole gender and access to the water. The image which Ritesh has showed, and I have a similar image where these women are having this competition, a swimming competition among each other in water in rural India. I should have actually brought that. So I was very fascinated to see that, how we still have these very limitation of, where women can do things or cannot do things, where it's allowed and not allowed. But it has been so much fun seeing all the work by the photographers and the audience and have these different perspectives. And I really hope we get to meet in a physical space and talk and more. detail, and yeah,
Thank
see
you.
it.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank
For
you.
our audience, just for you to know, Dipti has been photographing women all across India, and through her photographs, she also reflects on issues as well that women face. You should check out on Instagram, Women of India, and follow her. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, and we have, who wants to go next? I'm open to anybody coming, wanting to come in. Gareth, do you want to go next?
Yeah. So for me, it's made me want to go for a swim. I want to get in water. So to do that after this, I'm going to go and get a wetsuit and I'm going to go for a swim in the sea.
Okay,
So,
I shouldn't have asked you to speak. I shouldn't have asked you to speak.
You're a very, very lucky man, Gareth. I wish I could do that. Just open the car door and like take a picture. You know?
we've only just been allowed to. So lockdown, I mean, whatever
Right.
it is like 5 or 6 days of relaxation, you can say.
Right.
Nice.
And I've been meaning to get my wetsuit, and so yeah, I'm gonna do that because it's an extension of the restriction I've been facing the last 8 weeks I've been here. So
True.
it's now after this conversation, yeah, I feel compelled to go in the water. So it's
Wonderful.
I'm glad it's made me do that.
Enjoy.
It's been wonderful
Enjoy.
to be a part of this though, and to
Yes.
see everyone's work. It's great
Yes.
that everybody's focused
Right.
on
Right.
this. Yeah.
Right. Thank you. Carolyn,
Yes,
would you like to share something?
it's really fascinating that every story seems to has water involved. Yeah, whatever topic it is. So thank you very much for inviting me, and thanks.
Thank you. Thank you. Manchuria, I think you must be feeling very, very sleepy, but I hope you're awake.
Birds are chirping, it's like it's morning now. I woke up. It was like we all had a slumber party, and I woke up with you guys.
Okay.
We see a change and light in your screen, actually.
Check it out. Like it's morning time, you guys.
Yeah.
I think it was great. I loved hearing everyone speak. It's so enriching to it's so easy. Well, we're further isolated. We're already an isolated crowd. I mean, of
Right.
course, we go out into our communities to connect, but at the end of the day, we are working in a very small circle or just us. So it's so nice to hear everybody's like what attracts them, and I think it's also one of the things that I think is great is that in water, it's very easy to find yourself because it literally is like a mirror. It's looking back at you. You're
Yes.
not just looking at it, it is looking back at you. So I love that look is completed in a way, because not only do you find yourself, but you find, it has the room to take every story. And
True. True.
I find it.
Thank you. That's beautifully expressed. Thank you. Naveen, would you like to
Right.
would you like to say something before we end the
Yeah.
session today?
Yeah, it's great to connect with you all. I love all your work, and great to hear the experiences and from the globe. Thank you so much.
And thank you
for
for
the
sharing.
opportunity for Chennai Photo Biennale.
No, of course. And thank you for sharing your personal journey with us, because I know that a lot of our projects do emerge out of some personal connections a lot of times. And it's wonderful that you could join us today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Just add that I find Naveen's work really brave.
Yes.
And it's really I love how quiet and beautiful it is. So thank you for sharing, Naveen.
Thank you. Thank you.
Manjari, you should check out his Instagram and maybe his website.
Yes.
It has a lot more. It has a lot more, and I've already told Naveen the prints that I want. So I guess whenever the scene is,
It's
open.
a part of your job.
Nida, yes.
So it was wonderful to meet all of you. It's very difficult to meet people from India because
Yes.
so it's good to. So for me, this lockdown is very good because I'm able to meet a lot of new
Exactly.
people from all over the world. So it's wonderful, and I have something to say to Carolyn because a friend of mine recommended, showed me your work as a reference, and it's a privilege to have you here and listen to you talk about your work. Your images are beautiful. I love them.
Thank you. Prasit. Any closing comments, Prasit?
Yeah, same as all everyone said. It was really a pleasure to see a lot of work. And I have one question for Anshika. How is it still bright there? It's just 15 minutes time difference.
Yeah,
And
you're
here
right.
it's pitch dark. And now
It's quite bright here, I don't know if you can see from outside the curtain there.
Yeah.
There's like bright sun. It's Delhi, man. It's Delhi summers. It just goes on and on.
But also, hopefully, we'll have photograph to this year.
Yes.
At the end of this year. And we'd love to have all of you. We've had some of you, like Suchi and Anshika, and Nida has been here, but we really want all of you here.
Dying to come.
Hopefully,
Dying to come.
that will happen.
Is it happening? For sure?
We'll know soon,
We'll
I
see.
guess. I know.
We'll
Open
know.
the can.
We'll know soon.
Can of questions
Stay
now.
hopeful.
I don't think anybody can answer that right now.
Yeah. Are we able to get out of our house is the first question.
Exactly.
To like the festival situation.
Exactly. And I'm going to just request now Ritesh as the last person on our panel. I know.
This usually happens that whatever I have to say is always said by somebody or the other.
Okay.
I'm the last one on the list.
Okay.
I mean, firstly, thanks for having me here. I'm like completely, from a different space, and it gave me a chance to think about the water and images to, in a different way, and how I've been shooting it all this while. I think I'm going to go off tangent here. And for the last few days and weeks, we've been, volunteering and distributing water and other essentials to people. So, you realize how important it is in at such times. So I don't have anything else to say besides the fact that if you all want to help out, if you all want to contribute, you can reach out to me. And we're doing this from morning to evening. Yeah, that's about it. And I hope everyone stays safe and we're able to continue our explorations with water.
Yes, I know, and a lot more. And I think you should stay safe because I know that you're out there, you're doing a lot, and also keep your safety in mind when you're doing that. So thank you everyone for joining us. Just to let you know, this talk has been recorded and we will be sharing it very soon. It will already probably be shared on our Facebook once the session ends, and then we will be uploading it onto YouTube. Just for you to know, our next webinar and virtual session is happening next week on Wednesday, May 20th. This is with a Thailand-based photo artist, Manit Srivanijpum, who does very interesting political works. He's been creating some work in this lockdown situation by capturing the news of his TV screen. And that's what we are going to be talking about as to what his perspectives are and how can you create more work even in spite of the lockdown. So please do join us on Wednesday. All the details are on CPB Learning Lab on Instagram. You can also visit our website, Chennai Photo Biennale, in the event section. Everything is there. Thank you once again. It's been wonderful having all of you. I had a lot of fun and it was wonderful to see your works. Thanks everyone for taking out the time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.